Good morning. My name is George Johnson. I will be your worship partner today, and I want to welcome you all to Westminster Unitarian Church. Please note that today's service is being recorded. In a moment, we will be lighting a chalice together, so I invite you to go get a chalice or a candle if you have one nearby. If this is your first or second time with us, please feel free to email our office administrator to get on our mailing list so that you can learn more about us. That email address is being posted in the chat. And if you'd like to see the order of service for today, the link is also being posted in the chat now. By way of announcements, I believe we have only one this morning, and it's just a reminder that there is still room to sign up for your upcoming starting point class with Reverend Ellen and Team Welcome Connect. Again, see the chat for more information on that process and how to sign up. I'd like to welcome our guest worship leaders today. Our settled minister, Ellen Quadras, is away this week, so please join me in welcoming Reverend Mary Dunn as our guest minister today. And she is being accompanied in leading this morning's service by her colleague, Sylvia Foster. Reverend Mary was ordained as the minister of music at the UU Church in Exeter, New Hampshire, and has served churches of many different faiths. 20 years ago, she was involved in starting Project Nature, an environmental arts organization teaching children new ways of experiencing the natural world. Now retired from the Exeter Church, she teaches piano, incorporating puppetry acts from her studio in Dover, New Hampshire. Sylvia Foster, our worship co-leader today, grew up in the Unitarian Universalist Church in Bangor, Maine. She has been a member of the UU Church of Exeter, New Hampshire for 30 years, where she's been a retreat camp counselor, choir member, and leader of social justice and green sanctuary committees. She is retired as an administrator of educational programs for the University of New Hampshire's President's Commissions on Equity and Inclusion. She is teaching staff in the UNH Women's and Gender Studies program and serves on the boards of 350 NH Action and the Racial Unity Team of New Hampshire. Mary and Sylvia have been working together for the last 15 years and recently had begun teaming up to offer a service to congregations that is steeped in music and word. And now we begin today's worship service with the lighting of the chalice. And as we have been doing, if you like, please light your own chalice and type the location in the chat box.
Good morning. Thank you so very much for the opportunity to share this time of worship with you this morning. My name is Mary Doane, and I'm leading from the piano here in Dover, New Hampshire. My worship partner this morning, Sylvia Foster, is leading from her home in Durham, New Hampshire. It is truly an honor to be with you this morning. Hear now these words from Kate McPhee from The Light is Returning. Around us, the light is returning, rekindling the spirit of life in the tree outside of my window, calling up new shoots from seeds deep underneath the ground. waking us from our winter slumber and inviting us to see what lies ahead. We light this chalice this morning in the spirit of Earth's awakening and to an understanding of our commitment to the value of the planet that we call home.
And to the joy of human care, sister, brother, cousin, parent, child, for the kinship we all share, for all gentle thoughts and mild. Source of all, in grateful praise, we raise the light of our chalices. Come into this place of peace and let its silence heal your spirit. Come into our place of memory and let the history warm your soul. Come into this place of prophecy and power and let its vision change your heart.
Will you join now in singing a song that many of us know so well here in a Unitarian Universalist congregation? It is called How Could Anyone? I'll lead it from here at the piano, and the words will be in your chat. How could anyone ever tell you you were anything less than beautiful? loving is a miracle. How deeply you're connected to my soul. How deeply you're connected to my soul.
And now we join in our unison affirmation. The words will be in the chat, and feel free to unmute yourself. Love
is the
spirit of this church, and service is mission.
This
This
is
is
our
the great covenant.
dwell
Dwell
together
together in
in
peace.
Together
Seek the
in
truth
peace,
in
the
love
truth and love.
and seek the
and to
truth
help
and
one
love
another.
to help one another.
In this community, we are here for each other. Oh, I'm sorry, I jumped in. Reverend Mary, I'm sorry, I jumped over you.
I'll offer this music while people are writing their joys and sorrows in the chat, George.
We didn't do the affirmation though, did we?
Yep.
Oh, we did. I'm sorry. All right, here I go again. In this community, we are here for each other in a whole host of ways. And one of the particular ways we can support each other is by being present to each other in what is good and what is hard in our lives. I invite any who would like to take a moment, if you'd like, to share something on your heart this morning in the chat.
As we're finishing our joys and sorrows, let us join in a time of meditation. Reverend Mary will lead us out with a shared song with words in the chat, and we will have silence just before that. Be the blessing you already are. As you care for the world around you, may you remember to regard yourself with loving kindness too. Breathe in the breath we share with all kin. Feel the love of the earth flowing through this community into you and back out again. Let the love of all the universe, your love, flow outward to its height, its depth, its broad extent. You are part of an earth that is full of wonder, precious and beloved. We give thanks for all things beautiful in these often frightful times. Be the blessing you already are. We share this silence in memory and hope.
Here at Westminster, we share our offering every month with a different organization that shares our values and our mission. Our February Share the Plate is the Elizabeth Buffum Chase Center, which offers short-term, safe, confidential shelter for victims of domestic violence and sexual assault and their children. In addition to providing for all basic needs, the center encourages residents to participate in a program that includes education about domestic violence, parenting, and financial literacy. The center also provides specialized children's services, law enforcement advocacy, professional training, support services, and referrals. This allows clients to take the next steps towards self-sufficiency. A link for the donation is being posted in the chat.
The story of Cinderella is certainly an old one. There are 345 or so variants from cultures around the world. I recently revisited the classic version. Perhaps you remember it? I just have to say I see the story a little bit differently now as an adult, as a grandmother, as a teacher, as a citizen in this world that has changed so much since the Little Golden Book was published in the 1950s. I will always love the magic of how with a little help a person can escape a bad situation. A great lesson for the young and the young at heart. Today, Sylvia and I take a look at the story through another lens, one that writer-activist Rebecca Solnit gives us in her book, Cinderella Liberator. She reimagines Cinderella in a world in which we draw the circle wider and we share what we have there. So I'll tell you a little bit of this new love story on this special day. We promise a good-natured romp that leaves us with some things to consider. So here goes. Once upon a time, there was a girl named Cinderella. She slept by the fireplace in a house of great riches, where the cinders from the fire burned holes in her clothes. She did all the work of the house. Her stepmother made her do it all, even though there were plenty of others who could have shared the work. The stepmother probably needed some helpful hints, but hey, there's no manual when it comes to being a stepmother or for being a parent in general. Still, she didn't have to make Cinderella do all of the chores.
But there in the downstairs part of the big house, Cinderella was learning to bake the most delicious cakes. And she traveled to market every week. She got to know the people of the town, and she looked forward to spending time with the people who grew the wheat and produced the butter. From all of this work, she grew strong and capable. Upstairs, her sisters sat, They were arranging and rearranging their dresses and their hair.
When the prince sent out a message across the land announcing a great big old party, the sisters began gathering up all the best fabric for the best dresses because their whole thing in life was having the best dresses and the best hair, which would make you the most beautiful. And being the most beautiful would make you the happiest.
But if you really think about this, there isn't a most beautiful person because there are so many kinds of beauty. Some people love roundness and softness, and other people love sharp edges and strong muscles. Some people like thick hair like a lion's mane, and other people like thin hair that pours down like inky waterfalls. And still others, they just love a person so much that they forget what they look like.
There are a lot of people with a lot of ideas about beauty and love. Let's just say when you love someone a lot, they just look like love. And that means there's a lot of love and plenty of it to go around.
But the stepsisters, who were convinced that being the most beautiful would make them the happiest, pranced off to the prince's party in all their finery.
You know how the fairy godmother gussies up Cinderella in a glittery dress and shoes, and how she meets the guy who's hosting the party? And later, how there's confusion about a very uncomfortable pair of shoes? They were kind of tight, even on her. And wouldn't glass slippers be cold? I think so. Well, when the prince shows up at the stepsister's house looking for that sweet human who was just being herself at the dance, he asks, "Might this shoe fit someone here?" You can imagine the stepsister's utter astonishment when the shoe fits Cinderella. Remember, they don't even know that she went to the party. And in any case, how could attention be given to a sister who was hardly even visible to them? Furthermore, their mother had told them there was not enough to go around for everybody, especially, heavens above, attention from a prince to his sister, to this sister. They were still sitting with the idea that they might need to take things from other people in order to have enough for themselves, which doesn't really square since there's always enough if you share. There's enough food. There's enough time. There's enough crayons. There's enough love for everyone.
So in this version of the story, Ella ditches those cinders and she moves into town and she becomes the president of a bake shop. The prince trades in his satin for some overalls for working in his garden, his dream job. And he tells his new friend Ella that he sleeps better at night now after putting in a hard day's work rather than just lying around the castle all day long.
The happily ever after shines out when people are no longer struggling each day and may live to be their best selves. That right there is the happily into tomorrow we all wish for. The end.
my husband tells the story of when he was a child and his family moved to a little town in the Midwest where there were some of the wealthiest Midwesterners. Some of his friends had dads who worked as like presidents and vice presidents of Montgomery Ward and Kraft and Sears. One afternoon, one of his friends took him down the stairs into the cellar. He unlocked a room and they were looking at canned goods stacked from floor to ceiling. So he asked his little friend, "Why do you have this much food?" And his friend said, "Well, we had to get it before the hoarders did." Well, in the classic Cinderella, some people seem to have to settle for less, and others have it all. So that old blockbuster, The Golden Book, faded, but Disney and 9 spin-offs are still running it on movie channels. What can we make of the classic tale that there's not enough to go around? There's exclusion, hoarding, and in the process, you're actually wasting the time and talent of a lot of people. This kind of lovelessness in the scarcity myth, which serves as the basis of our US economy, hurts not just humans, but our animal kin and our plant communities as well. Imagine getting rid of that stormy wind of envy that Cinderella's stepsisters had. They had it planted in their heads. The storm that says that even they're not enough just for who they are, and that they always need more. By contrast, we see that by the end of Cinderella Liberator, everyone is sharing what they do best. That took me back to my Universalist Unitarian Sunday school teachings when I was a kid, where if you did not share your talent with others, you were pushing it with God. But how do people share if there are roadblocks? So another reason to love the new version of Cinderella is that it shows us that all of us can be fairy godmothers. All it takes is sharing. It's easy as, "Here, I have plenty, please take, pay it forward." So there's Rebecca Solnit working on ditching that old myth of scarcity. I have to admit, though, I was challenged to keep from hoarding last March. The grocery shopping panic really got to me. So the bags of flowers were gone from the shelves. There were no baked beans. Whole aisles were empty. It was a strange sight. So, of course, we saw the shelves restocked in May, and there was enough for everyone except for people without funds or transportation to get to the store. And then we witnessed these beautiful acts of kindness. Those people with more than they needed were reaching out and giving away what they could. People watched over their neighbors who didn't have anything to give in exchange. It didn't matter. People just delivered. They delivered food, they delivered provisions, they got to their neighbors what they needed. The first stimulus checks came. We saw with new eyes our economic system and our healthcare system. We could examine it for its failures. We could see the utter unfairness, the glaring injustices, and by contrast, again, the beauty of the gift giving and the kindness that seems to surface among us when there's a crisis. So on this Valentine's Day, we invite you to think of love, not just of the romantic realm, but also where we might renew our sense of love and appreciation for the gift of bounty from the earth. All her gifts to us, from the berries on a bush to the winter light to celebrate in mid-February, when the earth is just beginning to stir again, to push things out of the ground, to rise and bless us with bounty. And there's a little side note here. Biologists who study edible plants say that a shiny red apple is a long shot of evolution. Scientists just marvel at so much of our food is gorgeous and satisfying at the same time. It really didn't have to work that way. That reminds me of picking strawberries last summer after a long rain and seeing the glistening of those gorgeous berries and thinking, this is a miracle. There were just row after row of abundant red fruit. It was an astonishing display of generosity. This is what our plant relatives give to us every year. And then I remember when Reverend Mary landed on my doorstep with her granddaughter with this little basket of blueberries, little hands outstretched, just as she would have given me a dandelion, maybe a little wilted. Those berries were not a commodity. They were a gift. I remember feeling, I have all I need. I don't need more. Here's a Celtic myth. There was once a cow of plenty, one beautiful animal who lived on a hillside and gave bounteous quantities of milk, and everyone was fed, and there was no hunger in the land. Until one day, a woman came and took an astonishing amount of milk. It's said that she walked away with multiple buckets. She took much more than she needed. With that, the cow of plenty turned around on that hillside and flew off into the sky and was never to be seen here on earth again. The last anyone saw of her, she was headed for the Milky Way. It's clear how this myth holds up values of being egalitarian, living communally, sustaining relationship and kinship to other animals too. I love that myths call people in to our connectedness instead of calling them out. There's a lot to admire in those old stories. So, what other gentleness can follow the gratitude I had for the gifts from the earth, like the strawberries? Native American Robin Wall Kimmerer, you may know as a botanist and a deeply spiritual person, suggests we give a gift in return to the beautiful farm animal or the lush strawberry plant. I might return the generosity by watering, by paying more to the farmer than what he's asking. I could sing a song of thanks or write something to share, or I can just donate to my local conservation land trust. Many have said that gratitude is a radical act, subversive actually, because it undermines those tenets of super consumerism that tell us, well, you really aren't good enough and you don't really look perfect and you really need a new car, the right car this time. Well, when you're grateful, you're not needing to be better and cooler and taller, and the list is long. The system would like you to be needy. And that doesn't mean we don't enjoy beautiful things. It just means we don't have to bow to the ever-present messages teasing us to yearn and yearn. It's, if we're actually satisfied with what we have, so be it. And to name the world as gift is to feel my membership in the interconnected web. It makes me happy and it makes me accountable. Conceiving of something as a gift changes my relationship to it in a profound way. What if I acknowledged that everything I consume is a gift from Mother Earth? I think I'd take better care of what I'm given. It follows, too, that mistreating a gift has emotional and ethical gravity as well as ecological importance. In the book, If Women Rose Rooted, the author tells us a lot of us need to rekindle that sense of being with the earth and other beings in community with other humans through stories that take us out of this heroic, uber individualistic, glory filled journey that is really Western civilization for centuries. To fall in love with the earth again, the earth as a living being endowed with soul and intelligence, a single living being containing all living beings, all related. This is our call to adventure, to change the old story, to embrace abundance. For too long, we've surrendered our values to an economic system that actively harms what we love just by working from that old myth of scarcity. I admire the example set by the American Northwest natives. It's their custom to host a huge feast and to give everything away. Their people role model the feeling of abundance with the potlatch tradition. The more you give, the better off you are. That's really the Northwest Native Americans' economic system. In a gift economy, wealth is understood as having more than enough. The practice of realizing that abundance is to give yours away. In fact, your status is determined not by how much you accumulate, but how much you give away. If you don't have anything to give because you're struggling, you're still part of the flourishing, because that too is a beautiful thing to behold. The goal: to nurture the community's bonds and mutual well-being. U.S. culture has been described as kind of worshiping unbridled individualism. It's been coupled with kind of a heavy emphasis on fame, fortune, and physical prowess. But during the pandemic, we've heard the stories of 10-year-olds raising money to buy Christmas gifts for kids who didn't have them, little girls giving away their tooth fairy money to the food bank, and teens who deliver groceries to older members of their neighborhood. So whether you flew to Standing Rock to be a water protector, or you just took a loaf of bread to your neighbor this year, you reconnected to kin and gave what you had in service to others. The Native Americans at Standing Rock say it this way: people are awakening to the practice of being good relatives, and that includes the non-human animals, our trees, the plants in our backyards. They are all kin. So how do we display our beauty and our humanity in every condition, not just in crisis? Well, there is a heartbreaking fact that our economic system includes one of the largest income gaps in the world's developed countries. Many have observed that what has happened to us this year is more than just a virus, because we've had a chance to see things like that, to rethink things, to break with the past and imagine the world anew. We can envision a world that upholds loving values. So it all comes down to how we see the world. A glance at versus scarce resources or bounteous resources. The transformation away from the myth of scarcity requires nothing less than a shift in how we think about humanity's role on Earth, of what we deem sacred, of how we care for one another. Maybe if that tired old hoarding stories degrade the biosphere and declines the health of humans and limits all other life as well, It isn't too much to ask to live in a world where our human gifts go toward the benefit of all, where our daily activities contribute to the healing of the biosphere and the well-being of others. And what a great day it would be to redistribute wealth and resources, and then build with intention a new economy with enough to go around. It's been said that the work of the human is to answer the question, what does Earth ask of us?
One way Earth role models what she's asking of us is through her generosity. Then she leaves it to us to imagine.
On this Valentine's Day, we offer words of the poet. Take a breath and give it back with gratitude. Give back to the earth. Be respectful. Ask forgiveness.
Let go of the pain. Make something and give it away. Help the next person find their way through the dark. May it be so.
May it be so.
And now if you'll join me in singing this closing song, another favorite of UU congregations, Lean on Me. The words can be found, of course, in the chat. Sometimes in our lives, we all have pain, we all have sorrow, but if we are wise, we know that there's always tomorrow. Lean on me when you're not strong, and I'll be your friend. I'll help you carry on, for it won't be long till I'm gonna need somebody to lean on. Please swallow your pride if you have things you need to somebody to lean on. We all need somebody to lean on. These are the closing words that, along with my congregation of 20 years in Exeter, New Hampshire, where I was minister of music, we spoke every Sunday. So it would be wonderful if you would say them with me. Go in peace. Speak truth. Give thanks each day. Respect the earth and all creatures, for they are alive like you. Care for your body. It is a wondrous gift. Be gentle with yourself. Live simply. Be of service. Be guided by your faith and not your fear. Go lightly on your way. Walk in a sacred manner. Thank you so very much for having us here today. And now if you will join me in your traditional closing song, Carry the Flame.